we've had a lot of exciting news in the NBA, and by exciting, I don't actually mean exciting, John Rosa. There's been reports that there has been a little bit of a freak out in the Cavaliers locker room, literally. So let's dive into some of our favorite NBA freakouts.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's start with you. When I say NBA freakout, go.
Well, we talked about this beforehand, so I know what you're thinking I'm going to say. I'm going to go something different, and this was even mentioned in a Kanye West song in 30 Hours on his album The Life of Pablo. And that would be Matt Barnes driving 90 miles to beat up Derek Fischer because Derek Fischer was hanging out with his kids, and his kids were texting him because, you know, Derek Fischer has the relationship with Matt Barnes' ex. And so I think that's a pretty big freak out. Anytime you will drive 90 miles to beat someone up in your car, I think that's a pretty big freak out. Like, at some point along those 90 miles, wouldn't, like, you kind of come to your senses? Yeah, like that's a long drive. You know, it's over an hour drive, and you're in California, so it's probably like a 4-hour drive with the population out there. So I think Matt Barnes driving 90 miles to beat up Derek Fischer. Did
the fight happen? I've never heard of that before.
I don't know. I don't think it happened, but there was a scene. Yes.
Okay. Cool. Obviously, I think what you were mentioning is the first thing that comes to mind is Malice in the Palace. But that's like too obvious, right? It's a fan threw a drink on Ron Artest and he went up and literally a brawl. It was like a hockey brawl and then everyone got kicked out. But I'm not going to go with that either. We're going to just push right by that one. One of my favorites was in the 2012 playoffs. Who was it between? The Knicks and the Heat. And Stoudemire got so mad at the end of the game, he went back into the locker room and just like punched a fire extinguisher. And, like, I know he was just trying to get his frustration out, like, punch a wall or something, but then it got all bloody and, like, he was, like, almost have to get surgery, and it was just, like, this whole ridiculous freak out. Give me another one.
Dion Waiters on the Miami Heat team plane had too many edibles and had a panic attack and started freaking out, and they had to stop the plane. They had to land the plane. I think that's a pretty good freak out right there. I told you I'm going off the grid this week. They don't necessarily have to happen on the court.
I like that. One that I actually just realized, and I feel like it should have gotten more publicity when we were all watching that Jordan documentary. If you pause it at a very specific time, you can see Scottie Pippen throw a chair onto the court. Like a full chair, just throw it onto the court. So, like, that's not ideal.
No, that's not ideal. He took a page out of the late, great Bobby Knight. Although I don't think Bobby Knight's still alive, so he's not, like, late. But, yeah, the one of the all-time great college basketball coaches, Bobby Knight. Yeah, that was, like, a signature of his. I'm going to go to the 2006 NBA Finals.
Ooh.
And Mark Cuban. So I saw this story. I remember this at the time. I do remember it because the big thing in the 2006 finals was Dwayne Wade, you couldn't breathe on him. He was getting every call. You could not breathe on him. And it got so bad that after Game 5, Mark Cuban was fined $250,000 for his comments and actions. So his actions after the game included storming onto the court and venting to referee Joe DeRosa, cursing during the post-game press conference, and allegedly screaming at David Stern, then commissioner, rest in peace, Commissioner Stern, and other officials. So Cuban denied this report to the Miami Herald, but reportedly someone heard him shouting at David Stern, bleep you, your league is rigged. Now, Cuban denied that to the Miami Herald, but yes, he was fined $250,000 for all of that.
Okay, well, my last one, I don't even know.
That probably should have been number one.
I don't think I can go after that. Do you have another one?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do my, like, little tiny one right now, and then you can finish it off because you are better at this than me. There is one YouTube video of a little tiny freak out. It probably was 3 seconds in real life, but it lives just, like, rent-free in my mind, and it is... There's, like, I don't even know, like 1 second left on the clock or something in this Clippers game, and the ball off of a foul shot comes right to DeAndre Jordan. And I think he thought, no, it wasn't a foul shot. It was a shot clock violation. He thought that the game clock was, but like the buzzer went, but it was a shot clock. And then he doesn't put it back up. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but Chris Paul, so DeAndre's here. Chris Paul is about here.
Yeah.
And Chris Paul is like jumping to like eye level and over and over. And he's like telling him to shoot, but he looks like a little spoiled brat, like at a grocery store when his mom's like not buying him candy. So if you Google that, it's 3 seconds of pure comedy, and the freak out is probably like warranted because like shoot the ball. They were down by 1 or 2 or whatever.
Yeah, right. Put the ball in.
But yours are funnier, so just end it off. Give me another one.
Well, I mean, the serious one would be there's Draymond Green in the locker room with Kevin Durant last year or 2 years ago. That's well documented. After I guess they lost to the Clippers at Staples. I think that's where it was. And he freaks out. He's like, "We don't even need you, bro," or what? All the stuff he yelled at him. The other one would be Dan Gilbert's letter to Cleveland fans after LeBron made the decision on national television to go to
CJ's so
Miami.
excited for this one. Why don't I know this?
And Dan Gilbert wrote a scathing letter just ripping LeBron James and said, we will win, and said to basically, we will win a championship before the so-called king ever wins a championship. Now, of course, that didn't happen. He won 2 titles in Miami, and for Dan Gilbert to get that championship, he had to make amends with LeBron so he would come back to Cleveland.
And look, right where we started with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I'm going to wrap it up, John Roser, unless you have another one you're trying to get off your chest.
See, you gave me 2 options of what topics to go with today, and I chose this one for a reason. I was ready to go. I loaded the clip.
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed with yours. I quit my job because you're better at it, so you are now the host. That's been another episode of IMHO. I'm Kelcey. Thank you, John, for filling in, and we'll see you guys next week.